By the beginning of 1943, the German High Command realized that the threat from Allied bombers required a search for new means of dealing with it. Fighter aviation, with guns and anti-aircraft artillery, could effectively resist the attacks of bombers, but the effectiveness of such a fight was more and more doubtful. German engineers began developing several anti-aircraft missiles and air-to-air guided munitions. One of the new developments was the Ruhrstahl X-4 wire-guided air-to-air missile. Work on the X-4 began in June of 1943 by Dr. Max Kramer at Ruhrstahl AG. The idea was to build a missile with enough range to allow it to be fired from outside the range of the bomber's guns. The bomber's defensive guns had a maximum effective range of about 1,000 meters. The missile was to be guided with enough accuracy to guarantee a kill. The X-4 met these specifications and more. Its rocket engine accelerated the missile to over 1,150 kilometers per hour and kept the X-4 at this speed during its cruise between 4 and 2 kilometers. Analysis of several preliminary projects allowed to determine the most convenient aerodynamic appearance of the rocket and the layout of its internal volumes. It should be noted that the used layout solutions with some modifications later actively used by designers from different countries. All the main elements of the equipment were placed inside the body of a cigar-shaped form. The design of the hull, wings, and rudders of the promising X-4 was created taking into account the fact that the product will be assembled by workers with low qualifications. Probably, this particular feature of the project allowed to collect a fairly large number of new missiles by 1945. The X-4, in comparison with other German guided weapons, turned out to be relatively light and compact. With a total length of just over 2 meters, the fueled rocket weighed approximately 60 kilograms. The diameter of the largest part of the hull was equal to 0.2 meters, and the wingspan was approximately 0.7 meters. The wires were controlled by a joystick from the cockpit of the German fighter aircraft. Flares attached to two of the midsection wings were used to keep the missile visible through the smoke of its engine. The warhead consisted of 20 kilogram fragmentation device that had a lethal radius of about 8 meters. It was thought that the guidance system would allow the pilot to get the missile into the right range, but it would be almost impossible to judge range to the target bomber anywhere near this accuracy. For this reason, the missile mounted a proximity fuse using an acoustical system turned to the 200 Hz sound of the B-17's engine in cruise. Activated by the Doppler shift as the missile approached. The trigger range was approximately 7 meters. In conditions of real air combat, the X-4 was proposed for use as follows. The fighter pilot had to go to the tail of the bomber group and, having approached a distance of no more than 2 kilometers, to launch the rocket. Then, using the control lever, it was necessary to hold the rocket on a trajectory, the endpoint of which was the target. In August of 1944, the first test launch of the X-4 took place. A modified Focke-Wulf FW-190 fighter was used as a carrier aircraft. These tests showed the advantages and some disadvantages of the applied technical solutions. First of all, the X-4 was not very convenient for use on single-seater fighters. Simultaneous control of the aircraft and pointing the rocket at the target turned out to be quite a challenge. In this regard, there was a proposal to use a modified Junkers Ju-88 bomber as a carrier. The pilot would have controlled the aircraft and the navigator would have controlled the X-4. Instead, on focusing on the V-2 ballistic missile and pouring more resources into the relatively simple X-4 rocket program, the weapon could have entered service with the modified Junkers Ju-88 carrier in 1944. Plans for equipping the Me-262 jet fighter with the necessary equipment were of course also discussed. In the future, the Ruhrstahl X-4 missiles were to become the main armament of the Focke-Wulf Ta-183 Huckebine fighter, which however remained a paper project. Tests of the new air-to-air missile lasted until February of 1945. In late December of 1944, it was decided to start mass production of the new weapon. It should be noted that before the test began, more than 200 X-4 missiles were already manufactured. According to various sources, Ruhrstahl managed to assemble several hundred X-4 in total, but the exact number remains unknown. The total number of manufactured products in different sources ranges from 1,000 to 1,300 pieces. The fighter interceptor designed to use this missile as its primary weapon was the Focke-Wulf Huckebine. This fighter was intended as the successor to the Messerschmitt Me-262 and all other day fighters of the Luftwaffe, but it never got out of the project stage. It was supposed to produce more missiles, but the Allied bombers destroyed the BMW rocket engine factory at Stargard, which produced the rocket engines. After this raid, the production of the X-4 stopped. Thus, the destruction of the BMW plant led to the complete cessation of the manufacture of the German air-to-air missile. The X-4 was intended to be issued in numbers to the Luftwaffe by late spring of 1945, but the bombing of the BMW factory and the war's end prevented the combat use of the world's first guided air-to-air missile. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and to make sure you don't miss my future work, please make sure you are subscribed to my channel and press the bell notification button. Thank you and see you in the next video.